Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of Faith, Lies, and Confusion. I am Godless Reggie, and this is NJ. How are you today? You muted? You're still muted, NJ?
I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. I wasn't sitting here being one of those elderly inept people. I wasn't sitting here doing that at all.
It's okay. Um, I'm doing good, just dealing with this weather. I know you're probably in a warmer place than I am. It's about 20 odd degrees. Hopefully, it doesn't snow anymore today, but I'm off today, so I can live with it either way. This week's episode is titled "The History of the Moors." So the Moors is a topic that comes up a lot in my life. Most situations where that word is being spoken, they're talking about the newer Moors. It's a religious sect of Islam, but historically, they are people that actually existed. Um, I've been educated in the past few days about them. I've talked about them quite frequently. I was under the assumption that the word Moor was short for Moroccan. That's not really true. It's not completely false because you can correlate the Moroccans with the Moors. They definitely are descendants of them and they definitely were there. But it stands for Mauritania, if I'm not correct. That was the word for them. And it also really is realistically a term that was used for darker people, for black people flat out. So Um, I'd like to go over the history of it and speak about them more in depth and learn as much as I can. How you
Oh,
feel?
where we want to start? Where we want to start? Where we want to start? We want to start with the video. We want to start with the pile of dirt. Like where we want to start today?
That's something I don't know about. Let's start with the pile of dirt.
What the pile of dirt that I sent you last night that I lost my notes on because when I opened up my notes thing, it refreshed on me. Anyway, I can type it in again. I can type it in again. But um, if I remember correctly, there was a spot where they all started
Hmm.
that had a temple, and that temple went to a particular god named Dano, something like that. I forget. I know it started with a J.
Is it
Anyway,
Janus?
long
Is it the Greek god Janus?
yes, I think it was Dano. Yes, yes, that one. And and that's where the Moors began. They were upset that they lost their temple to Janus, and they built a church on top of it. And they got together with some people, um, the Berbers that were
Hmm.
the Sea People. They were basically the Sea People. They ended up with the name the Berbers, but they were the people of the sea, and they liked to leave their wives and daughters at home.
Hmm.
So they worked out a deal with the Muslims to protect their wives and daughters while they was at sea. And then
I
there
bet
was
you
a
they really
third.
protected him.
I, I'm not gonna go there yet, but there were some disputes over a few of those wives and daughters. I'm just gonna throw that out there. And then there was the other one that I can't think of the name of right now. The Berbers, the Arabs, and I can't.
The Saracens.
Thank you. Thank you. And they were basically the ones that did the grain. They did the gathering of the grain and storing it and yada 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 yada. And it was the Arabs' job to keep um their grain and stuff safe. Like we'll feed y'all if you keep us safe. And they were like, okay. So that's how they came together to be known as quote unquote the Moors.
That's a damn good deal. And especially from a man's point of view. Listen, okay, so you telling me that you gonna be gone off the war for God knows how long, right? And you paying and feeding me to
Mm-hmm.
protect all these
Mm-hmm.
single women. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
run that, run that, run it, run it, like Chris Brown. You can give it to me right now. Also, I just wanted to notate that when NJ is forgetting what she's saying, or losing track, what I'm doing is I'm literally looking at my phone, I'm looking at text messages and notes that she told me out of her own mouth. So I'm not coming up with this. I have no idea who the Sarah Seymours are. I really don't. But to put in context, another thing that she literally forgot about the temple and the mosque, I think you were, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, the Great Mosque of Cordoba,
That's it.
because that's what you sent me. Right.
Yep. They
That's
had a
another.
they had a temple there. They went out to sea, and they came back and had a mosque on top of it. They weren't happy.
I wouldn't be either. Like, you mean to tell me I done fed you and then built on top of my shit and you didn't impregnated my girl too? God damn it. But you kind of asked for that, though.
They sound like stop fighting words to me. They sound like fighting words to me.
Man, I would have been so happy to be a coward in those days. I would have been so happy. Like, listen, you know what? I'm just so scared to go to war. I can't fight. I'm not worried. I'll sit here and tend. I'll do all the sweeping and cleaning. I'll even cook. Yeah, I'll do that.
Cooking, cleaning, cooking, or just I'll read and write whatever you need me to read and write.
Oh
We
yeah.
just put me in a corner, and I will go do that.
I,
That
de-
was another good kissy job.
I definitely do that. Definitely will. But I just don't see the psyche in that. Like I just don't see how no man just sat there and just thought they just went off the war. Like, you know what? I've been fucking hoodwinked. I've been bamboozled. Why the fuck am I out here with all y'all and I can be back? I've been played. I just don't see why men just I don't see why men just look at women like they're not capable of doing anything because that process has to go through your mind when you're doing this. You have to be thinking like, she
I'm
ain't
mad at the women that got together and fucked it up. They went, we want to be able to do everything that the men do, but better. And they sat, looked at each other and said, yeah.
this is crazy. And that's the thing. That's the thing. I just don't. Does men just have a mentality, especially ones men that never grew up around women? They just have a mentality that women just can't have certain thoughts that they have, or have feelings that they have, or just think how they think. I just don't. I just don't. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Like I had a debate with somebody recently, right? Because I was talking to him about a situation years ago where I explained to the opposite sex that I'm only interested in being friends with you, right? And I told her this I explained to him that I told her this from the beginning, from day one, and I never wavered or varied from that statement.
No,
He accused me of being a womanizer. I said, well, that's only if you look at it as her as helpless. That's the only way that's true. If you look at her as helpless or she has no control over what she's going through or doing, and I'm the one that's forcing the situation and she can't stop me, that's the only way that's true. And I said, and then I said, if you think that, then literally you think that you have a capability that she doesn't. He was like, oh, that's not what that means. I said, you're just not
that's
thinking
not
about
what that means.
it.
See, and this is why I used to get tickets because logical thought process, well articulated, received with you lying. That's not what that means. I don't know what that means, and I'm gonna give you a ticket anyway.
Right. I told
I
him
know how
later,
you
I
do
asked
it.
him later
I
on,
know how you do it.
I told him, I said, I bet you would believe a person if anything a woman tells you if she starts crying with you. He's like, what you mean? I'm like, the answer's yes. That's just too stupid. And you will go for anything, bro. But that's besides the point. We getting off topic here. So let me do a little bit of reading here. Give me a second. Do a little bit of history here. So the term Moors generally refers to a group of Muslim peoples, primarily of North African origin, who invaded and later settled in parts of Europe during the early Middle Ages. The Moors' influence was particularly prominent in the Iberian Peninsula, which includes modern day Spain and Portugal. They began their conquest of the Iberian Peninsula in the early 8th century after the Battle of Guadalete, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, in 711 CE, and they remained in control of much of the region for several centuries. The Moors were a diverse group, including Berbers, as NJ mentioned, from North Africa, Arabs, and other Muslim peoples. They brought significant cultural, science, and architectural advancements to the areas they ruled. In Spain, this period is often associated with the development of Al Andalus, a region known for its cultural flowering, which included advancements in mathematics, medicine, astronomy, uh, philosophy, and art. The most famous example of Moorish architecture is the Alhambra in Granada, Spain, known for its intricate Islamic art and design. Over time, Christian kingdoms in the Iberian Peninsula gradually pushed the Moors southward in a process known as the Reconquista, which culminated in the capture of Granada in 1492. Apart from the impact on Spain and Portugal, the Moors also left their mark on places like Sicily, southern Italy, and even parts of France. The term Moor has evolved in different ways throughout history and has been used in various contexts to refer to people from North Africa or even to describe certain aspects of Islamic culture. The history of the Moors is rich and spans several centuries, with a significant impact on the history and culture of Europe, like I spoke earlier, especially in Spain and Portugal. Here are more detailed breakdowns of the history of the Moors. The term Moor generally refers to the Muslim population of North Africa, like I spoke before, primarily the Berbers and Arabs who began migrating into Europe during the early medieval period. The name Moor is somewhat broad, and it historically encompasses different ethnic groups, including Arabs from the Arab Peninsula and Berbers from North Africa, particularly modern day Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. The term was used by Europeans to describe Muslims from North Africa, regardless of their specific origin. I'm gonna stop right there. Give me 1 second.
And for a fun fact, what year did Columbus sail the ocean blue?
1492.
And they left after being defeated in what year again?
1492. It all
Oh,
correlates. Pow, 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 pow. Back to back.
I'm just saying that's just my favorite fact. That's how I even found any of this stuff when I was a kid. I was looking for Christopher Columbus stuff, and I found all the other stuff behind it. And then the teacher didn't like me no more.
Right. And when we start, and if we keep going further and further and further, if you go to Pope Eugenius, and I forget the other Pope, right? All that lines up perfectly too. But you know what I always wondered? Mostly anybody in history that we can think of, right? What their name is in their native language is the name that we call them. Why the fuck do we continuously call this man Christopher Columbus? Why do we do that?
I didn't know. I didn't know.
I mean, we literally are teaching kids this shit in school. We're teaching a
Mhm.
fucking lie. That is not even his name. He's not even fucking Spanish. He's Italian. It's crazy. It's just like we cry. Well, I'm not gonna say we. I'm not gonna add myself to no fucking we because it ain't me. Why would I do that? But
Right.
they always say, well, we need certain things to be added to the curriculum, like the Bible and things like that. I think you need to work on the corrections of the things that they're teaching them from the beginning. Like you're literally teaching these kids a motherfucking lie for no reason. I mean, you're adding truth. Okay, it happened in 1492. I give you that. Okay, that's cool. Why the fuck you got lie though? Just don't make sense.
Why don't you just go ahead and say that he was running for his life? He got lost in a storm, landing on an island,
Why not?
tortured some people so that
Why
you
not?
would drag your ass back over there where you came from. Well, where you were commissioned from, because that's not where you came from. It's a whole bunch of different aspects to it.
Hmm. There is a bunch of aspects to it, and the more I start learning about this particular time period and its time frame in history, and even a little bit back before that, and a little bit before that, I mean after that, I'm starting to believe, without any evidence, because I can't pinpoint any evidence to this, but I'm starting to logically believe that maybe Africans did come to Brazil, or maybe the Caribbeans before them. I don't have any proof. I can't prove that. But if you think about it like this, remember that BS story I told you earlier? You remember that bullshit ass story I told you earlier about Noah's Ark? Remember I told you about that?
Yeah,
Okay. If I use a similar logic, right? And what I mean by that is if I look at it like this, okay, well, Africans was the first people on Earth, right? Right? Almost every fucking invention that you can think of, Africans or African Americans or Caribbean American, Black Americans created it, right?
right,
That's going to include boats and rafts and shit.
right,
Maybe
right.
raft is far fetched to make it to the
Yeah.
Americas. That's far fetched.
No, but they did use the rafts on the rivers long before any ships made it around. I mean, through the ocean. There
That's
was rafts going up and down rivers
no doubt,
all over the place.
no doubt. But what I'm saying, the far fetched about the raft part, is it's far fetched to believe that you could survive on a raft from Western Africa to
Oh yeah, no.
Brazil. That's a little far fetched, and my logic is also a little far fetched, just a little bit. You can't honestly think with your mind that these people did not create ships too, and you can't honestly think with your mind that it wasn't possible because it was. If they can fucking do it, if they can do it, the Africans can too. They can. They can. We just can't. We just can't hardcore say, boom, this is when it happened. And I think the reason why we can't do that is because of whitewashing. Because of whitewashing. You feel me? If you go to a place and you completely erase their history, yeah, that would probably be included with it. You know?
Well, yeah, I know our history is fucked. We're,
That's what I'm saying.
we'll be digging for, oh my gosh, I don't
Forever.
know, it at least grandson's generation, whole generation. I don't know about the one after that, but yeah, we're gonna be digging for a minute trying to rediscover the lie.
Right. And you don't
It's
think
just the
that
fact that they wanna beat the lie into your head and force you to believe it, and it's like I don't know. We don't. Mm-mm,
you don't
no.
think
I'm sorry. Go
you,
ahead.
you don't think that they could have made a sailboat, and then on top of that, right? North Africa and Spain, Portugal is only 9 miles away.
Yeah,
So you don't think that they possibly could have made a sailboat to get over here? Because now I'm thinking that the Spanish and Italians, you learned how to make that from them or under their guidance in some fucking way. You had to have.
yeah.
So is it far fetched to believe that they couldn't have did it?
But they did. We know it.
I
The
just
only
can't pinpoint it. I can't pinpoint when they did though. I don't know when they did. I'm not gonna make the positive claim like they did because I can't. I can't prove it.
who are we trying to prove? That,
That
that the Africans came over here, or that we
mm,
went over there to the Africans?
no, 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 no. I'm trying to prove because I think that it's not far fetched to believe that the Africans made a sailboat and possibly sailed from Western Africa to Brazil, and I'm going to pinpoint Brazil because Brazil is going to be the closest point, prior to 1492. And I believe that because what I said, on top of the fact I know they had to created sailboats first. You had to been under their guidance when you created them. So is it far fetched to believe that the Africans didn't do it before that? Think about it.
Well, I know that they could. That's not even a question. but you, but wasn't it last week where we figured out that it was actually Central America that went over there, that went over to them first
When
at the end? I'm gonna have to rewatch that episode because I didn't keep the notes. I didn't keep the notes.
I think overall though, with in both spectrums, when we talk about history from this side of the world, pre-colonization, and history, African history, North African, Central African, West Africa, all that shit, pre-colonization, it's so much whitewashing involved that it's always going to be like you said, we're going to be digging forever and ever 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 and ever. But I still think that they could have definitely did it. I would like to further find out more. But let me move on a little bit. I'm gonna play a video so I can take a little quick time on the histories of the Moors. Before I play this video, I haven't really watched a lot of it. I don't know from what point of view or perspective this is coming from, because again, when you say Moors, especially in the United States, that can mean a plethora of things. From my understanding, when I first heard about them, we're talking about American citizens. Like we're talking about sovereign citizens and all that. So I'm not sure if this video is going to be from that perspective or if it's going to be from a historic perspective. Give me one second.
This video over due to copyright issues. My deepest apologies for the unintended infringement. Anyway, if you've already seen this video, please forgive me for the repost, but I think it's an important discussion on African history. Moorish history is probably top 3 as it concerns mainstream African history. The African diaspora can't seem to get enough of it. The Moors represent so many different things to us as Afro-descendant people, but perhaps the most valuable thing this history achieves for us is a sense that Afro-descendant people achieved glory. Why? Well, because Moorish history simply demands respect and cannot be ignored. However, despite all this, Moorish history for Afro-descendant people has always carried an asterisk, a blemish, if you will, because the identity of the Moors is constantly challenged. So today, I wanted us to get a better understanding about who the Moors were and talk about our role as Afro-descendant people in establishing Moorish legacy.
I want to say Tim. I'm Jack Black. Oh, that's it. Yeah. I'm not Jack Black.
Oliver, this is
What up, African world? It's Somsi here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and supporting this content. If you'd like access to full courses and sources, or you simply want to show your support, you may do so by clicking the Patreon link in the description box below. The term Moor itself consistently referred to Muslims from North Africa, whether they were referring to the various Amazigh populations or other Africans who originated further south in places like Senegal, Guinea, or Mali. Despite what we in the diaspora may think, the term Moor is very broad and it's been used interchangeably between these two populations. and was never used exclusively to refer to either of them in the literature. In some occasions, you'd even hear Europeans differentiating between the so called white Moors and black Moors. There are many Moorish dynasties we can discuss, but my focus will be the Almoravids and the Almohads, so please keep that in mind. When the African diaspora thinks about a Moor, they tend to think of the black soldiers or rulers who conquered Spain, but we hardly ever refer to the names of the actual dynasties who accomplished this. It's important to be specific when speaking about Moorish history. When Islam spread across North Africa in the 7th century, many Africans converted and created their own Islamic armies to further the cause. These armies later became known as the Moors to various Europeans. It may surprise some of us to learn that black soldiers have been used in the Middle East since ancient times. They were not new. It was only because of the mobilization of Islam and the great number in which various Africans joined forces that they then became known as Moors later on in history. Under various Persian rulers, Africans were employed as mercenaries in armies to help conquer and control new regions. Africans in Nubia specifically had a world renowned reputation for being excellent.
I just wanted to pause it there for a second because what he just said, he just hits um what is his name? Oh my god. Bilal. That describes him 100%. Every time a mercenary, every time they go to war, Muhammad always went and got Bilal. So that's an explanation of that, in my opinion.
That is the perfect explanation of that. And we already determined that Belial is just a title. It was a job description. It was a job description. It wasn't a god. It was a job description. Ah,
One thing he's not mentioning, and he's glazing over, is okay. And he's calling them mercenaries, and that they could fit that description, but it would be more like slaves.
right, right. And the better you use slaves, the faster you're supposed to get out of the contract. This is contractual slavery, kind of, sort of. Depends, like depends on if you're smart or not. Was you the smart slave or the not? That was how that worked at that point.
Exactly. And a lot of the slaves, this is right now, this is my opinion, what I'm about to say. I would think a lot of the slaves would most likely would want to do that. I would. I would rather be a mercenary than whatever else. So, mean to tell me I get to kill some people? Shit, that's a deal. I'm already under tremendous stress. You know what I'm saying? So that would be a great stress reliever in those times, and especially if I was a devout believer, like
A
most of these
devout
people.
believer.
Right. Like most of these people, I'm going to go out on them and say are. You could easily name this a jihad or convince them that this is a jihad and you're doing it in the name of Allah. It would fit the description in this case. So they're probably more than happy to do the shit.
Man, they changed religions like tax brackets. Oh, it's more tech savvy to be Muslim this generation. Okay, great, we're Muslim now. Oh, it's more tech savvy to be Christian this cycle. Okay, we're Christian. They changed religions just like they changed partners.
I agree. And now that I thought this came through my head, okay, what time period are we talking about here? Um, on the latter end, the 1492, that's one conversation. But if we take into context when they allegedly first got there or they allegedly first formed, that kind of correlates with the writing of the Quran as well. I don't know if anyone notices that, but 700, 600, 700 is around the time when the religion started, is what I'm trying to say.
7-Eleven.
Hmm.
That darn 7-Eleven.
Yep.
I never understood that joke until I finally figured out what they meant by 7-Eleven, and I was like, that's why everybody makes that joke when particular ethnicities are working in 7-Eleven. Now it makes sense.
Uh, okay. I get it. I never thought about it like that either. You learn something new every day.
Every day.
It fits perfectly.
It is perfectly.
That shit crazy. Let me finish playing this.
Excellent archers, and their services were in high demand. Even before the Arabs swept across North Africa, black soldiers were present in their armies. One of the earliest mentions of a black soldier, or what Europeans would later refer to as a Moor, was named Washi. Washi lived during the time of Muhammad, and it was said that he distinguished himself in battle, especially during the capture of Mecca. The truth is, in the early days of Islam, Arabs began to extend their hand to enslave people, whether they were from the Middle East or North Africa. They began to entice them to join their armies, and in return, they would gain freedom. This was an excellent strategy by the Arabs to gain a huge, loyal following, and it greatly diversified their military ranks. Over time, this strategy began to be used amongst the Amazigh populations who converted to Islam. In the 9th century, North African slave armies became more desirable as ambitious Amazigh governors sought them out to create autonomous principalities. They believed these soldiers from Inner Africa would be loyal to them in totality because they didn't come from the ethnic group of the governor, and so was not invested in the needs and concerns of the majority population. The North African caliphs themselves began to adopt this tradition to comfortably enforce their power and not worry about any Arab or Amazigh dissidents. In other words, the recruitment of black men further south became the very backbone of Moorish supremacy. Now, it's important to understand that black soldiers were always used in Islamic armies even before the 9th century, but they did not become supreme, if you will, until about this time. For example, under the Umayyad dynasty, the first emir of Cordoba in Spain, Abd al-Rahman I, who came to the throne in 756, was known to have kept a large personal guard of black troops. He founded the Muslim dynasty that ruled a large portion of Spain for nearly 3 centuries, and all his successors used black soldiers, especially to maintain order. Now, here's where a lot of the confusion comes in. People may look at early Moorish history and say, well, the Moors were black people. However, we can't ignore the presence of Arab or Amazigh soldiers. In fact, at various times in Moorish history, there were more Arab and Amazigh soldiers than black soldiers, especially before the 9th century. If there is to be any value in the statement of saying the Moors were black people, we have to keep in mind that it's time sensitive, because when discussing events before the 9th century, we can only use it to express how black soldiers were used to reinforce the Sultan's power. When the 9th century arose, the face of the Moors began to change fairly quickly. Ahmad Tulin, who came to power in 884, the first independent ruler of Muslim Egypt, began to rely heavily on black soldiers, most of which came from Sudan, many of them Nubian. Upon his death, he's said to have possessed 24,000 so-called white soldiers and 45,000 black soldiers. In essence, his army consisted of black men. His son was protected by 1,000 black soldiers alone. One chronicler had this to say, wearing black cloaks and black turbans, so that a watcher could fancy them to be a black sea spreading over the face of the earth because of the blackness of their color and of their garments, with the glitter of their shields, of the chasing on their swords, and of the helmets under their turbans. They made a really splendid sight.
Your father knows about saving money. Everything I'm wearing, I've had since boot camp.
So it
I think this is a good time to take a pause on the video so I can interject. I'm sure NJ wants to as well. But so far from watching this video, I have been greatly educated on the situation. Um, I could sum all this shit up right now, even though this is only the 34-minute mark of this stream today. I can sum all this shit up to the Moors were nothing but paid slaves slash mercenaries, dogers, soldiers, and you motherfuckers are so proud to represent and be them. It's crazy.
Matter of fact, they'll even sign up for massive corporation of American military. So the dude would say, "Thank you for your service to them for the rest of their life."
And you can clearly see just by what he's saying how you are being used in this situation, right? I'm gonna put it in slang terms because that's the best way I can describe what I'm saying. So they're bigging you up, blowing your head up this big. Oh yeah, you're down with us. Yeah, you want a bus, blah 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 blah. Go out there and kill all these people. But in essence, they're using you, and they really prefer white soldiers over you. However you look at it, and the essence of it, it wasn't even brought to you by black people. They just made you a part of a team. They were a gang, um, and just used you. Period.
But don't you think that they felt really special being the 1,000 pick guard the prince a baby? I bet you that was a sweet assignment. I bet you that was a sweet assignment. By the way, if you ever look up that particular ruler, he didn't rule long, if he did at all. I think they got that one. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'd have to agree. Not according to me, but according to them, I bet that would be the highest ranking job that everyone aspires to be. No different than when a motherfucker is in jail and he aspired to be a trustee to pass people's trays out. You aspiring to work while you in jail for fucking free. Come on, bro.
I ain't moving. I'm reading. I'm reading. I'm reading, and I'm not moving.
Me neither. Listen, me neither. You already holding me hostage against my free will, and you getting paid for,
Yeah,
and you getting paid for it. So I'm gonna work too. No,
I'm not.
nah, hell no. And that's why prison ain't for me because I ain't doing shit.
Definitely wouldn't work out for me. Would not work out for me at all. At all.
Shit crazy.
Really ushered in the power of black soldiers, giving Moorish armies its distinction. Any European army who had never seen black soldiers in such great numbers would have certainly spoken about it and identified them as being the power of the Muslims. And if we look throughout the literature, this is indeed the case. This is why Europeans in their artwork oftentimes represented the power of the Moors with an image of a black man. This is why the focus on the Almoravids and the Almohads is significant when speaking about our contribution as Afro descended people to Moorish history, because these two Moorish ruling dynasties in Spain arguably used the most black soldiers and had rulers who were indistinguishable from the various African ethnic groups further south, like in the case of Yaqub al-Manzur of the Almohads, whom I consider the greatest Moorish leader in the history of Muslim Spain. His mother was a black woman believed to be from either Mali or Senegal. One of the primary reasons for the rapid growth of black soldiers was the need for North African Amazigh rulers to have complete control over their soldiers and not be challenged by any intermediate power or opposing ethnic loyalties that would come from Arabs or other Amazigh clans. It would be very difficult for black soldiers originating from the interior of Africa to rally up the local Arab or Amazigh populace because of the ideological, social, and political divisions between them. It was black men who served to maintain the ruler in his palace, protect the capital, and uphold imperial authority. The Moorish tradition of black soldiers continued to develop in Morocco centuries after their expulsion from Spain in 1492. In the 17th century to the early 18th century, the Sultan of Morocco, Moulay Ismail, made great use of black soldiers to solidify his power. He himself was the son of an Arab prince and a black woman. Moulay Ismail felt the immediate threat to his rule would come from
I just want to pause it again because it's starting to get a little bit irritating to me. All I hear is black soldiers, black soldiers, black soldiers,
Right,
black
right,
soldiers,
right,
black soldiers,
right,
soldiers.
right, right,
And
right,
every time I hear
right.
it, it's just like they just using this. It's no different than what the United States has traditionally done to us with Vietnam, World War II, things like that. They just use you. They don't really think of you as the as real Americans. I've been educated on something else. I'm gonna speak this right here. Um, there's a person that is in the community, as we call it, the atheist community on TikTok with me. Her name, she goes by the name of, we call her Chi Chi. She's from Trinidad, and she taught me something.
I remember Gigi. I love Gigi.
Right, I know you know her. She told me that there's a part of Trinidad, and there's a there's numerous ethnic groups in Trinidad. I don't know if anybody knows that, but there's more than one. It's not just black people. It's all kinds of people there. But there's an ethnic group there that they call the Americans. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. If not, somebody please correct me. But who they are this they're American descendants, black American descendants, who were veterans of World War II. I don't know if anyone knows the history of Trinidad, but Trinidad is loaded with oil. Loaded. To prove what I'm saying to you, um, if you ever hear music that comes from Trinidad, they have these particular types of drums, and they make these drums out of oil barrels, the bottom part of it, right? It's like a round drum. So anytime you hear these drums, it has a certain particular sound. Trinidad is famous for that because those are old oil uh, barrels. So back to the story. So the United States will come there to get fuel for their ships and shit, and they were notorious for purposely leaving black people there, black American citizens there. Now
Wow.
this is in the 1900s, so this isn't a long time ago. And they purposely left so many of them there that they have their own community and they're called the Americans.
What? Why are we always getting on a boat for these motherfuckers? Why? 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 You know what? Let me stop asking.
So that just brings back to my point, right? That this is a very similar situation. They're just using you for what they can get from you and making you feel like you're special. Oh, you're Americans, yeah. Okay, we're over. Yeah, that's crazy.
All
I'm
I
saying this.
know is
Right.
Zelensky promised them some women to breed with. I don't know if they made it over here yet, but it sounds like negotiations ain't going well. But go ahead with the video.
Oh man.
From the Arabs, Amazighs, and the Turks in Algeria, he assembled the largest army in Moroccan history, consisting of 250,000 black soldiers, allowing him to exert great authority through which he was able to undermine the power and influence of local tribal groups in his nation. Malay went even further by demanding that the other Moroccan ethnic groups turn over their weapons and their horses to his all-black Moorish army. Our agency in Moorish history as Afro-descendant people cannot be denied, as it so often has. There just needs to be balance when speaking about the Moors. We need to be specific about time periods and dynasties because diversity did indeed exist. Moorish history is akin to a blanket. We just have to identify our specific thread that makes up a part of the whole. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production,
I think that was a pretty fair explanation of the Moors. I personally liked it. I think that towards the end, he kind of spoke on his personal beliefs, and but I think that's okay because he didn't press on it when he was speaking about the Moors. Maybe he did without me noticing. Maybe he thinks that because they were soldiers, he looks at them with respect and honor. I do not. Um, but I think it was pretty fair.
It kept me engaged. It kept me engaged. I did pay attention to the information, and I was not screaming at the screen, lies, lies,
Right, right. Um,
lies.
one thing I question about him as well is when he say we need to take our bit. I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that. That's a low percentage chance, and I'm gonna say why. Now, if you are saying that people from Senegal uh, possibly were Moors, we could have some relation to them as Black Americans. We could. Is it a high percentage chance? Not really, but it's a percentage. The rest of them, not the
You
Berbers.
know, it only takes one. And a lot of people would get themselves in trouble and feel the need to run to new land.
That's
And it's
true.
the whole planet. So I see what you're saying, but like I said, it only takes one.
They do. They do. It only takes one. That's why I said. That's why I had to. I'm not gonna flat out say he's lying. He's embellishing though. He's embellishing. Hmm.
He's letting the imagination go with the flow.
He's he's giving me evidence to believe that he might be Muslim. On top of the last statement he said, you know, because anytime that a
It was a
person,
project for school, so he had to make it seem personable. That's what it was. It was a project for school. He had
hmm
to make it personable. It was a PowerPoint presentation for school. That's what it was.
right, and if I'm correct of my assumption that he's a Muslim, then I have to give him extra credit because again, he wasn't super de duper biased. He wasn't like blessed be upon him. He wasn't doing all that shit. So,
Where was teachers like you when I went to school? Oh my goodness, man.
mm, all right, but I give him credit. I might end up giving him a follow, see if he could, you know, enlighten me on a few more things about it. I'll take his word, some of his word for it. But again, I'm not gonna make that positive claim that, oh yeah, we can take something from that our little piece. No, I'm not gonna do that. But I can't disprove that either because I don't have my 23andMe or my other DNA results, so I can't really
And,
just.
and what is your DNA going to prove? I'm waiting with bated breath. What is your DNA going to prove?
Not really nothing because at the end of the beginning and end of the day, what it tells me more than likely I'm gonna already know.
Because them sample sizes still have not gotten that large. I don't care how many samples they've stolen throughout the last decade and a half. But still, that database is not as large as they would have you believe. And 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 they neglect to tell you that as far as the daddy side of the family, that all that DNA can tell you is who's the daddy. Can't really tell you much further back than that. So everything that you're gonna get is gonna be from your mama.
So with all of them, because there's different companies, and I know that they go about it a little bit differently. Don't get me to line about their process because I am not a scientist in no way. Um, but I do know for a fact that what we are discussing is science. So with these DNA tests, um, or anything that has to do with it, it's constantly going to get updated. Long after we're gone, it's still going to constantly get updated with more and more. For example, a lot of them when they first came out, from my understanding, don't give me a line if I'm wrong. Somebody correct me. A lot of times it would just correlate mostly all black people with sub-Saharan because they really couldn't tell the difference between people from Nigeria, uh, Ghana, and places like that. I don't think you ever will be able to because borders and fucking tribal lines don't mix. You see what I'm saying? They don't mix. Those tribal lines and those borders that they got from, when they diced up Africa are not the same. So you have some people that are from Ghana that are the same tribe as people from Nigeria. And people from Niger and people from Nigeria are the same motherfucking thing. The only difference is one speaks French and the other one speaks English. It's the same fucking thing. So
Because
it's
colonizers came through there, put a road down the middle, and said this side belongs to these people, and this side belongs to them people, And the family that used to meet where the road now is looking at each other going, well, we can't talk no more because we're on different sides of the border. I never understood that. I never understood that.
Right. So I really don't see how, and again, they have thousands of tribes just in West Africa. That includes Senegal, Sierra Leone, you know, we'll say Burkina Faso, all them. So we're of mixed African race any motherfucking way. And we're of mixed tribal African any motherfucking way. All of us. So it's always going to be difficult to pinpoint exactly where. And again, like you said, people move around. People move around. So it's never going to be accurate, not 100%. It's never going to be. It's never, ever, 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 ever going to be. And with the even with these people, even if like the people we're talking about, the Moroccans, the let me get that word out of my mind, the Moors, even if we could take a DNA test back to those days, it would be hard then too.
It would be impossible. They're all mixed up together. Like
Hmm.
basically, they are broken down by shades right now. They're shades of whatever color of that region. They're broken down by shades. But that has become like a personal preference thing. Like, do you like the dark meat or the white meat?
Right.
It, there's nothing that they can find in the DNA that's going to differentiate between them religiously, um, demographically, and none of that. Not no. It's DNA doesn't work that way. It don't work that way. It
They don't.
doesn't work that way.
They sure don't. So with them, they'll never like okay, so when we when we have conversations and debates like, you know, the Israelite thing and shit like that, and then we talk about DNA, they would never be able to prove that shit. They would never be able to prove that shit. It don't matter who you is, you can't prove that. Or even disprove it,
Mm.
truthfully.
Nah, I pretty much disproved it. Cause like, okay, so one, all right. So when I first started getting into DNA,
Hmm.
it was after I watched the movie Jurassic Park. Because I was fascinated. I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I remember seeing TV shows about this cloning shit when I was a kid. Now I'm watching a movie as a grown up, and they done remade dinosaurs. Maybe the science has done something, so I decided not to study it. So I, do me going down the rabbit hole. I'm trying to figure it out. And there was a point to this. I promise you. I promise you there was a point to this. But by the time I got done researching it, I was like, DNA is pretty much a junk science at this point. They just all they did was use it to pinpoint donating organs. I promise you. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like it turned it into the science of clone meat and uh, body part manufacturing. That's where it is right now, as far as DNA science is concerned.
It definitely is a strange science. I do believe. Well, it's not about me believing. It's not about me believing. When it comes to science, you it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It really doesn't. It's just true, you know. So, but that one,
And, and
it is tricky.
and what's true today may not be true tomorrow. Thanks to something. If you can come up with if you can come up with a science to prove something true, you can also come up with a science to prove it is not.
I agree. All right, let me read a little bit more from a different perspective. Some of this may have already been discussed. I'm not sure. I really should just go back to where I was at. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to where I was at because I never finished it.
I'm sorry, I'm not very focused today. I can't believe I lost all my notes. I was so proud of myself this morning for actually making notes. I'm mad at myself.
You know what I normally do? I put them up on the screen and just slide them over.
Yeah, that's what I had done this morning, but remember, I was having technical difficulties because I couldn't remember how to put an R in the word, so it would be student, and I just fucked it all up from there. It's my fault. I'm mad at myself, but at the same time, I'm mad.
I'm gonna get your email again before we get off of here. So the Umayyad Caliphate and conquest of Spain. In 711 CE, like we spoke about earlier, the Battle of Guadalete, the story of the Moors' arrival in the Iberian Peninsula, begins in 711 CE when the Muslim general Tariq ibn Ziyad led an army across the Strait of Gibraltar into the Iberian Peninsula. Tariq's forces defeated the Viz- Visigothic king Roderick at the Battle of Guadalete. This victory opened the way for the Muslim conquest of most of the Iberian Peninsula. The Umayyad Caliphate, the conquest of the Iberian Peninsula, was part of of the broader expansion of the Umayyad Caliphate, which was based in Damascus. After the fall of Visigothic kingdom, most of the Iberian Peninsula came under Muslim rule and became known as Al-Andalus. In its height, Al-Andalus encompassed nearly all of Spain and Portugal. The Al-Andalus Golden Age, culture and scientific advancements. Under Moorish rule, Al-Andalus became a center of learning and culture. The Moors brought with them advanced knowledge in science, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and engineering. The city of Cordoba, in particular, became one of the most important cultural and intellectual centers in Europe, boasting a famous library, universities, and hospitals. Architects. The Moors left an indelible mark on Spanish architecture. The most famous example is the Alhambra in Granada, a stunning example of Islamic architecture with intricate geometric design, fountains, and gardens. Other examples include the Great Mosque of Cordoba and the Giralda and Seville. Religious tolerance. For a time, Al-Andalus was known for a degree of religious tolerance where Muslims, Jews, and Christians coexisted relatively peacefully, at least in comparison to other parts of medieval Europe. This convivencia coexistence allowed for significant cultural exchange, although tensions and persecution would later rise. Decline of Muslim rule in Spain. The Christian Reconquista. The Reconquista was a centuries-long effort by Christian, kingdoms in northern Spain to reclaim territory from the Moors. Starting in the 8th century, Christian forces slowly pushed the Moors southward. Notable milestones in the Reconquista included the 1085 CE, the Christian Battle of Toledo, a key city in central Spain, the 1212 CE, the Battle of Las Naves de Tolosa, where Christian forces achieved a significant victory over the Almohads, the North African Muslim dynasty ruling much of Spain. The fall of Granada. The final Muslim stronghold in Spain was the Emirate of Granada, which was ruled by the Nasrid dynasty. After years of conflict, the conflict monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella captured Granada in 1492. This marked the end of Muslim rule in Spain and the completion of the Reconquista. The aftermath of the Reconquista, expulsion of the Moors. After the fall of Granada, the Moors in Spain faced increasing persecution. In 1492, the same year as the fall of Granada, Ferdinand and Isabella issued the Alhambra decree, which ordered the expulsion of the Jews from Spain. Shortly afterwards, Muslims were also pressured to convert to Christianity or face expulsion. Many Moors converted to Christianity but were still suspected of secretly practicing Islam. These converts were known as the Moriscos. Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition, established in 1478, targeted Muslims, Jews, and later Protestants who were suspected of heresy. Moriscos faced intense persecution during this time. The legacy and influence, cultural influence, despite the fall of Muslim rule, the legacy of the Moors in Spain remains substantial. Their influence can still be seen in Spanish art, music, cuisine, and agriculture. The Moorish design, especially in places like Alhambra in the Great Mosque of Cordoba, continues to attract admiration worldwide. Moorish contributions to knowledge, many of the scientific, mathematical, and philosophical advancements brought by the Moors were later transmitted to Europe. This knowledge helped lay the foundation for the European Renaissance. For example, the Moors introduced the concept of zero advancements in algebra and improvements in medicine. The Moors beyond Spain, North Africa, and Sicily. The influence of the Moors wasn't limited to the Iberian Peninsula. In North Africa, they helped to shape the Islamic world and were part of the broader expansion of Islam. The Moors also ruled over parts of Sicily, Malta, and southern Italy during the medieval period. The legacy in the Muslim world. The legacy of the Moors also lives in the Islamic world. Their contributions to science, literature, and architecture influenced the broader Muslim world and continue to be admired by scholars and historians. The term Moor has evolved over time, and today it is sometimes used to refer to people of North African descent or to the historical identity tied to the Islamic civilization that flourished in medieval Europe. In modern times, the term has also been used more broadly in cultural discussions to reflect the historical connection between North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula. Ooh, that was a lot. So, what I take from all of this, again, um, looking from the outside in, because I'm not a believer, um, I would have to say when we speak of the Moors, putting the new school Moors to the side, is that it's just another group of people that we look up to because they seemed cool, had some sort of power, seemed strong. Um, didn't seem as if they were subservient, but looking more into it, they are.
They
Uh,
right.
they are. I never knew that. But again, it's just a situation where they just look cool. They just look like the tough guys. Like, everybody wants to look cool. But digging deep, they were at best, uh, what's the proper term?
You know,
Not
right,
serfs, indentured servants at best. Um,
right. Well paid indentured service.
mhm.
And what you were reading there about their cultural input in between wars, they had time to sit down, craft, be artistic, build, have grandiose plans, because nobody was warring at the time, or there was very little to guard, guard, and whole families would need to be decimated, and the Moors would have to pick a side, pick a prince, pick a province. And they usually went with the money. They didn't always pick the better person. They usually went with whom was going to allow them to make more money during their reign. And they made their money through war. So they were always going to want to be more bloodthirsty individuals.
I think that would be like what we would think of as the first example of the Marines, the recon Marines. Go in there and kill everybody. Then when it's
Very
over,
good
it's the
analogy.
black people.
Very good analogy. Very good analogy. Don't. Now you will understand the historians who read all of this stuff and they come to the conclusion that There were way more white people in slavery than there were black people.
You know what it is as well? This whole story is just a way to blame things on black people.
Yeah,
It is because at the top of the food chain, there's not a black person really. It's Arabs doing that shit to y'all.
yeah, yes. We just chose to keep our heads and our hands attached to our wrists and our neck and did what the hell we were told to do. You want
Mm.
us to go to war? Great. Who's the enemy this week? This guy over here? Ain't that your uncle? Oh, don't ask no questions? Okay, we ain't asking no questions. You heard the man. Go kill him.
That would be kind of like during the Civil War when they went and got the black slaves.
Yeah.
Well, that would be like,
Help, help
I,
me keep my help me keep my land. Be a good slave and help me keep my land. Keep them damn Yankees off my land.
no, I'm talking about afterwards because you know that the North used a lot of slaves to basically win that fight, right? That's kind of
Yeah,
what pushed
because
them
they
over.
told them all that they would be free if they fought for them,
Right.
even if they didn't win.
Right. So what I'm saying is that would be like the South afterwards. Like you niggers are the one that killed us, really.
You know what?
You could say that.
No, excellent, 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 excellent. That's why
Right.
it was so hard on so many of them to go home. You fought against you fought against your own kin. I'm not kidding to you because Master jumped the fence one night.
But that could be looked at two ways as well too. Because look, now that I really think about it and know that's kind of how they got us. All right, so look, it would always be, you know, the house nigga would keep you in check. The house nigga is
Yeah,
the one who kept the field niggas in check.
yeah,
And the reason why he was the house nigga, and the reason why he kept him in check, and the reason why he had privilege is because he's related to him. It's their fucking family. It's their family. It's just their second class family. That's all. Still their family. So it's the same thing.
in the same time period in the Caucasian houses. You had the you had the family that was well to do, and then you had the poorer cousins, and the poorer cousins always came to work for the well to do family. So
Hmm.
cousin Bet, that was one of my favorite stories. That was one of my favorite stories. Yeah, but there was always some long lost cousin or spinster aunt that needed a place to stay, and you had a country manor that had like 10 bedrooms and you only had two kids. So you might as well have her come and stay and hang out, keep you company, and deal with all your bullshit. She ain't got nothing else better to do and she broke. Come deal with all my bullshit.
But see, the thing with them is they can, present them with a proposal that's at least partially true. A little hard work. You can get like this. The niggas, they can't.
Nope,
That's partially true, and that's what made them differentiate because there was a lot of poor white people here too. That's what made the poor white people turn on the free slaves. That game right there. You know what I'm saying? Because they was getting mad because a lot of intermingling was starting to happen. You know, we might as well hang out with y'all. Y'all poor too. Fuck it. Y'all from the hood too. But now if you hit me with a proposal to stay away from these people, and you could possibly get rich if you just associate yourself from these people, then that's how it is. And they've kept that same mind state to this day. It's no different than a person that you see when you watch TV and they live in super impoverished rural areas, like super duper impoverished areas. They still will vote a particular way when it's against their best interest as well. That's because they still capture with that mind state that we got to push them down to get the fuck up. And in some way, sometimes It's true, it will work. Sometimes it will work for you as a black person. Sometimes you can be dark skinned and it'll work. If your name Candace Owens, you the farthest you can be away from these people. And if you push black people down, you can get rich. And the bitch did.
And will we even allow you to breed with us?
If you tap dance hard enough, if you salute me hard enough, if you tell me I'm your master in 2025, you nigger bitch, I'm gonna go ahead and marry you because you're gonna treat me like a king, and that's how I deserve to be treated. Because
Yep.
God, and God
Go,
bless America, by the way,
Lord,
we
Jay.
made it this way. Our forefathers fought for this country, and for you, picking any to serve me. That's why.
God said we should all love one another, and we are going to be the ones to show the world how
Hmm.
black and white can come together in love.
But if you that same looking person and you have a completely different attitude towards it, and you don't even have to be racist with it, you can just be like, "Look, I don't believe in that. I believe, you know, boom, boom, boom." They have a different attitude towards you, you know. And that's the thing I want people to see. A lot of times, people like you if you're the good one. People like you if you're not outspoken. People like you if you go along with the norm. But at what point do we stop thinking the norm is good?
Ooh, I get nervous when people like me.
Listen, we're the poorest minority here. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's the definition of fucking insanity. You're gonna have to
Ooh,
change it up somehow. You can't keep listen, all y'all motherfuckers that's at church right now. I hope you watch this later. We've been doing that shit forever.
you know what? I recently had somebody give me my kudo moment. They called me up. They was like, "Hey, how's it going? We catching up, chit chat." And they was like, "You know what? You said that this wasn't gonna work through a 9 to 5. I'm starting to see right. You know what? What? You know what? Why does it take everybody 5 years to come to the same conclusion that I told them?"
Right. I mean, there's very few people that can live off of a 9 to 5 in the average paying job in America, or that can have a nine
I
to
used
five and get a good job where they can. There are some people that can, but for the most part, nah, you got to do something else. That's why I think a lot. Well, we know historically that's why a lot of people have relationships, get married for financial reasons, stay in marriages that are terrible for financial reasons. Um, it's rough, it's hard out here.
see
So
people get out of marriages for financial reasons.
yeah, some
Like
people get out of yeah.
they're
That's the
gonna
number
they're
one
gonna
reason.
they're gonna come take the house, baby. They're gonna come take the house. You gotta hurry up and separate these assets real quick because they're getting ready to come take the house.
Hmm. Definitely, a lot of that. But yeah, money plays a role in everything. And it is hard to. Well, I don't know in what state that you can survive or what area you could survive off of minimum wage there. Probably maybe in not even San Francisco because
Yeah,
their minimum
yeah.
wage is so high because the rent is so high. So
I have clicked all the clickbait. I have checked all the websites. Nope, nope, nope. After COVID and everybody got the at-home jobs and got the wanderlust and went, all over the darn place. Everybody high. Everybody high. Everybody's high.
hmm
There's, there's resorts that might not open again because nobody can afford to work at the resort and afford rent in the resort can. Does that make sense?
hmm like Orlando, like say for instance, if you work somewhere in Orlando, I highly doubt that you could pay to live there. I highly fucking doubt. You're gonna have to probably live in the slum somewhere, like in a ghetto. You're
Right,
gonna be
and
just like,
they do, and they have the slums, the ghetto, and
mm-hmm,
they hide it very well on the other side of the highway. There is no way that tourists will ever get lost and go there. But unfortunately, it's filled up with a lot of hotel motels, and that's actually where they had people staying when they was trying to stay close to the park during COVID. And that, and the only reason I mentioned that period of time is because that's when I was paying attention. I ain't paid attention to it in a long time, but um, yeah, they had them stuck up in the hotels and the motels. Um, and then the hotels and motels started jacking the prices up. And then Florida came up with this neat little side trick that let them all like correspond with one another. Like if
mm-hmm,
there was a big event coming into town, they would all raise their prices to like three times the usual. So if
mm-hmm,
you were moving from like hotel to motel, moving around, but at the same time keeping a roof over your head, just
right.
using the motel system. And you don't let there be an event because you're not that week. You want to find something else to do, somebody's sofa to crash on. I don't know what to tell you, but you're not getting no room.
You know what? I think that that should be automatic. Like if you have a job like that, they should, and that's anywhere you go. I think they should automatically offer that to you. Um, that's just my personal opinion. It's
And they used to. That's how that little work hotel motel area got there. That's what it was built for. But it was almost like they was trying to run them out of there on purpose during COVID. I didn't understand the whole premise behind it. I didn't understand a lot of stuff that Florida was doing. They, I don't know what Florida's doing.
Florida's a strange place, especially now under the administration is under. I have stayed in Florida for a few months. Damn, what year was that? 2009. Yeah, 2009. I stayed in Florida. I stayed in damn, sorry, what's it? Leesburg, Florida.
Yeah, yeah. Not a bad spot. Not a bad spot.
Yeah, I was down there working for a few months. It was phew, unbelievably hot. I had never seen no shit like that. And this was like April. I'm like, man, this some bullshit.
I burned my mind one day that I was going to take this walk. Now, this is something I've done in Jersey, something I've done in Georgia. Never thought anything about it. I was like, I'm going to go walk. A little walk ain't never hurt me. So I start walking. I didn't realize that the Florida sun walk was different than the Jersey, Georgia walk. Mm-mm. I wasn't ready. I didn't take a water bottle with me. I had on the wrong shoes. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I accomplished the goal, but my feet were so messed up for like 2 weeks. Like you get the big blisters that didn't have to pop, and then they got a scab over, and I was just like, oh my god, why was nobody here to stop me? I had to find somebody to move in with me after that because there should have been somebody there to stop me because that was not a bright moment.
You walk with no shoes on?
No, I had the wrong shoes on that day.
Oh, I'm about to say you are insane.
And like usually when I'm in New Jersey and Georgia, I would take my shoes off and walk barefoot. But you can't do that on the sidewalk in Florida because that will burn your feet for real. Like you will actually get like burn blisters
Two
from the
steps.
yeah. I had never in my life experienced anything like that before, and like I said, I got a roommate after that because I was like, I should have been talked out of that. There's no way that somebody should have let me do that.
Yeah, I couldn't take that shit. I'm like, man, this shit is bullshit. I'm like, man, it's hotter than a motherfucker. And then look, when I first got down there, right? So they said it was like an advisory because they said it was like one of the biggest droughts they ever seen, and I didn't get what they meant by that. And what they were saying was it literally hadn't rained in like maybe 5 days. I'm like, what? So it didn't rain for like 5 days when I was there. After that, it rained every motherfucking day for like the next 3 months. I mean, but it wasn't no real rain. It wasn't no like it ain't like your whole day was ruined or no shit like that because it would be over in like an hour and then it would be
Yeah,
extremely hot. I'm like, man, this is bullshit.
see, that's what I love about Florida. It rains for an hour. 20 minutes later, you can't tell it rained. All the water's dry.
Um,
It's normal day.
and then so I had this job and it was people that lived there that work with us. So this lady, this older lady, she told me the craziest fucking thing I thought I had ever heard in my fucking life. She was like, make sure that you watch out for the Florida ice. I said, this bitch is fucking insane. I mean, she is insane. Why is she telling me something about? I said, she got to be smoking crack. And I said, what are you talking about? She was like, and she just was laughing. I'm like, she's like, listen. She's like, once it stopped raining, right? She was like, be careful when you drive because it's slippery just like it would be if it was snowing outside. I said, get the fuck out of here. She's like, you don't see how once it started raining, how you see that smoke and shit, the little steam coming up from the street. I said, yeah. She's like, I'm telling you, it'll cause an accident. So one day, I was with my brother. Rest in peace to him. He let me drive. I slammed on the brakes. I ain't hit nobody, but I knew what she meant, and it made sense then because I didn't get it. Like, you know. So
I know your heart was palpitating when you hit them brakes.
yeah,
I know.
yeah, because it was just raining. You know, here when it rains, if you got decent tires, you know, you're cool. You know, if your shit bald, then yeah, you'll slip. There, it don't fucking matter. It don't matter.
I tried doing that Jersey aggressive driving down in Florida. They told me, move, bitch, get out the way.
Hmm. Man, it was a strange
Florida.
experience. The first day I got there, we stopped at the gas station to go to the bathroom. I go in the bathroom. I had a pee by myself. There's two urinals, both of them took. So I go in the shitter stall, whatever. Man, I look in there. Damn gecko looking at me like I'm short. Like,
Yeah.
just looking at me like I'm short. I said, this little motherfucker looking at me like I'm little. He little. I said, what the fuck is that? It didn't stop me from having to piss because I had to pee so bad. I didn't give a fuck who was there. But this little motherfucker was looking at me like I was short. Like, then he took off. I said, okay, little bitch. Then after that, that's all I seen everywhere. But you know, once I realized that they ate the bugs, I said, oh, they cool. But peep this. After we left from there, we went to Virginia. And I found out that them damn geckos go for $70 a pop. I said, damn it, I could have got rich. I
Wait a minute. I didn't know that. I would have brought a whole bunch of them back to Jersey. I didn't know
said, listen, them bitches sell. I
that.
couldn't
I
believe
didn't know that. Dang it. I'd have been shipping geckos all over the world.
it. Man, I would have had every color. I'd have had black, green, brown. I'd have had every motherfucking color of them bitches.
Do you know, even the last time I went into Florida, I still jump at them things. I still like cringe. I'm such a girl when it comes to them stupid little geckos. Oh, I can't stand them.
I
I would
mean,
walk around with a stick banging just so that they would scatter before I could even get anywhere near them because I hated walking along and they scatter at the last minute and I swear they're gonna jump on me, run across my
mhm.
toes. Yeah, I hate those things. I
Listen,
hate
I, I mean, I ain't like them until then, but after like about a week when I was down there, I just realized that You can't stop them, no matter what you do. Listen, they're the most unstoppable force downer because you number one, you can't catch them. They're too shifty. Like, you know what I'm saying? They'll run up the wall on you. They'll jump on you. Like, they got hops. They can jump at least 10, 15 fucking feet. Like, up in trees. They cold. So I just was like, you know what? I just wave at them, get them out my face and shit. But check this out. So where my family is from, on my mom's side, I think I've told you this before, well, some of this before. My mom is from this place called Chincoteague Island, Virginia, right? At night, if you go outside, there's fucking toads everywhere. Like there's so many of them that you can't stop from stepping on them. Like as soon as you go outside. So that kind of reminds
Please
me of it.
your mom was Tiana and she had a frog leg restaurant. Please,
Hmm.
please tell me your mom was from this island and her name was Tiana and she had a frog leg restaurant. She made frog
Mm-mm.
legs.
Mm-mm. My mom
Was
name was
it-
Gaither.
I
And his
thought I had just finished the story. Go ahead.
historical fact: we're one of two black families from Chincoteague Island. My great grandma, her last name, her name was Rachel Logan. I mean Logan, pronounced it, but it's spelled like Logan. She has a street named after her. It's called Logan Lane. It's right off of Taylor Street in Chincoteague Island. So historical fact there. So growing up, going down there, I had so much fucking fun, so much fun. But the only thing about it is when you go outside at night with all them toads out, right? It attracts the snakes, and their snakes are no ho. They got what I don't know if you call them cottonmouths or water moccasins. They got them like a motherfucker. They got copperheads like a motherfucker. They got coral snakes like a motherfucker, and it's a couple other ones, but then the three that you'll see every day. So it's rough.
It's a nice island.
Yep. You ever been to Wallops Island to the little NASA place?
How did you know I had just clicked on that? Because no, I have only been to the NASA place in Houston.
I mean, it just was a good guess because you got to go through Wallops Island to get there, and that's what it's famous for. So it's kind of like boom. Um, Assateague is nice too, but Assateague is it goes up into some parts of Assateague is in Maryland, but Assateague we will go to the beach there. That's the only like one that they got. I can't think of the proper word. Paved. I don't know if that would be the right word because now that I'm older, there's some parts of the ocean that I know is the ocean now that growing up I perceived to be the bay. And the reason why is because it's like marsh and it stinks and shit. But my cousins have enlightened me recently that that's the ocean too. I just didn't know that. I just always thought of the ocean as the beach. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know no better. And I had
You
been there
know what? I'm with
30
you on
times.
that. I'm with you on that one because even in Jersey, if I
Hmm.
can smell it, I call it a bay. If I can
Right,
smell it, I call it a bay. And I'm
right.
from Jersey.
And
I
it's a
did not
long
feel
part of the shore that's like that too.
that's the bay. Still, it stinks.
Hmm.
On your way to Atlantic City, you are going to smell it.
Hmm. To me, anywhere I know is crabs and clams and oysters, it's the bay. Mhm. That's what my mind naturally thinks. If I know, oh yeah, I know if I throw this bait in there, or if I go, oh that shell right here, that's what my mind thought. But I know now that's not necessarily true, and I know that that beach they more than likely they paved it to make it like that. Well, I don't know, but I'm sure they did some enhancements to it for sure, for sure. But yeah, but overall, folks, my take on the Moors is they're just a group of black-ish missionaries that people are proud to claim today. They actually did exist.
With a huge, big bed and indifferent. In reality, they was just scared little kitty cats that wanted to keep their hands and heads So they did as they were told.
It's just another situation where we're being used to do dirty work because of our, I would say, our natural strength and ability. Um, we're looked as big, bad, and black, and in that situation, I think that would be a perfect example of what we were used for, trained for. I really don't know why anybody would aspire to be a Moor. I guess it would make you look better than being a slave, I guess, but still servitude comes with
Right.
benefits. But
This, this would, it comes back to the same analogy of which one was better, the field slave or the house slave. It's a tired and old trope. Point is, you are not free to make your own decision. You are only free to decide to do as you're told or lose your hands and head.
exactly. I think I want to maybe do a part two to this later on to discuss the correlation between the Moors of today to this, because I don't see how they can think that those people came over here. Now, with me saying that, I told you something else offline. Um, about a mutual of ours and about how smart she is.
Hmm.
She also made the claim that uh the Moors actually did come here, but once they got here, they were enslaved. I also have heard other stories, not with her, but I also heard stories that they helped make the Constitution and some other shit, or that's the claim that they made. She was sustaining that claim and well validating that claim. I forget her exact verbiage. I'm gonna talk to her about it again. But again, she's proven me wrong 3 times, or at least proved me wrong twice and educated me about something once. So I want to dig more
Get
into
that
that.
to me in a text so that I will go do my own digging. Cause I
Yeah,
don't,
I'm
I
gonna
don't,
dig on it too.
yeah. But remind me in a text. Cause something tell me I'm. Mm-mm. I don't ever remember coming across that in any reading that I did ever.
I haven't personally read that, but I have heard that. Like I've heard some not maybe not supersonic claims, or what's the right word, supernatural claims, but I have heard some claims that they did some helping in forming the United States and the government and a few other buildings. Don't quote me 100% on that.
They helped in the forming of the lie. They didn't help in the forming of. They helped in the forming of the lie.
Maybe I don't. You know what? Don't. I don't even want to lie here and say that I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I know I'm
You got
telling the truth, but not really know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to dig into it. But however you look at it, there is a such thing as Moorish Americans today, right? Or people that claim to be Moorish today. So I
the
want to
claim.
see how they figure that these people that we've been talking about all this day are them. And I want to know how
Okay.
they figure that they are them without being uh, product of the Spanish. And the reason why I'm saying that part is because I know for a fact that there is a certain group of people that have Northern African DNA in them. And I would say, and I'm talking about Hispanics, and I'm talking primarily Puerto Ricans. And the reason why they do is because of this situation. You know what I'm saying? You know, that the Spanish came there, obviously. And they do have Northern African DNA in them. And I know that's the reason why, for sure, for sure. So I'm trying to figure out how that they got here or how they make that claim, because I know some Moorish people, they have, it's more of a card. I don't believe it's truthful, but they have a Moroccan citizenship card, and that's what always has made me thought that Moor meant Moroccan.
You know
Yeah,
what? Explain it to me later. Explain it to me later. Because that made
yeah,
my head hurt.
yeah. You ain't never seen nobody with the last name L or Bay?
No.
Okay, so look up those last names. There's a nice amount of people in the United States that are black. Every last one of them are black. The last name is either L or Bay. and they're Moorish Americans is what they call themselves. Some of them go as far as to take it as to being sovereign citizens. Don't got no fucking social security number. Some of them take it that far. It's like kind of hotepish. It goes kind of far, but they all the one I've personally met, they all have a Moroccan citizenship. I don't know if it's a true one, but it's a
I
car.
don't know how you were born in the United States and didn't end up with a social security number.
No, they had one, but they got rid of it. Is what I'm saying. They become what they call sovereign citizens, or they try to, which to me is stupid because once you get a social security number, it doesn't matter if you disassociate yourself from it or not. It's still you.
Right, that part, that part, that
It's
part.
still you.
And isn't this the same thing that they did hundreds of years ago with the Indians? Like we'll let you call yourself Indian and stay on the plantation or the reservation
I'm not
for
sure.
free.
I'm not sure, but
Indian season.
I'm not sure. But when it comes to that native shit, I'm starting to want to start claiming to be a pretending too. Because if you know what the fuck you doing, it's beneficial out here, and everybody else stealing from them. Shit, might as well. I might well do that shit too.
Oh my goodness gracious.
She is. She is. Mhm. If anybody is watching at home, um, please go to my page and watch my first. Was it? Yeah, it was my first episode of the Pretendians. It kind of will touch on what I just said. There's benefits to being a Pretendian out here now. If you know what the fuck you're doing, it's just most black people don't. They don't. The white people that are Pretendians, that's why they doing it. They not doing it just to be saying that they fucking Indian. They doing it because they taking the fucking benefits that they get in the tax exemption. Black people doing it to not be African.
That part right there. You don't want to be African, but that's besides the point. But they allow black people to do it now because it was only for Caucasians when it was invented. It was only for them.
You can do it if you know what you're doing. You can. I would agree with you that it would probably be easier to do it if you white. Yeah, it's definitely easier, but it can be done now. It can be done for sure, especially if you can prove through DNA that you even a portion of that shit.
How
Which,
do you prove it? You know what? I'm gonna stop asking. I have a whole laptop here. I gotta stop.
well, you could, but see, okay, so when it comes to like black people, as we call them, Black Americans, only 1 in 5 black people have any significant amount of native in them, right? All of us will have about 1 or 2% just from being here from generations and generations and you know what I'm saying? You couldn't have just completely just wiped out all of them. You know, somebody in probably your great granddaddy then hit something, on the low.
What is different in Indigenous American DNA and African American DNA? How do they know which which percentage to give to Indigenous DNA? Okay, that's what I'm gonna ask the computer because I'm hot. I'm gonna go finish my cigarette. Oh my goodness, my head hurts now because there's so much I want to look up. But yes,
It would be tough, but I would think that what they would do, um, because there's no person in the United States that's 100% Native American. Well, yeah, I don't think you could be. I think that you still, if you're a human being, you still would have some percentage of African or Caucasian in you, even if you're from the reservation, right? But I think that most people um, that been here, I would say more than 4 or 5 generations, would have some percentage of native in them. And I think with black people, they just exaggerate it so fucking much that it's just ridiculous. But I think that they always compare our DNA with the people I spoke of earlier, Nigerians. Grenadians, Sierra Leoneans, and so forth.
DNA must have come a long way. Because that's not even making sense with the science of it. At least the last time I read it. So until I refresh my memory on that, I'm not gonna leave that. I'm not gonna touch that. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna leave that alone. Whew.
I'm
But
just guessing. I'm just guessing because, and the reason why I'm guessing that is because when I see people DNA results, no matter which one they use, um, when we're talking about anybody from the dysphoria, right? Because the word black can vary how depending on each person's interpretation, but it seems like they hit on so many of the same places, and then they'll group it together, right? So even when you see Senegal or West Africa, boom, then they'll either put it as West African or Sub-Saharan. Then, for example, people that are Hispanic, every last one of them I've seen have some percentage of Northern African in them. The same ethnic groups that we're talking about here today on this stream show up in them, and they'll put that one separate from the Central and West or Sub-Saharan African portion. Then they'll group the Spanish part, boom, or Iberian Peninsula part with if they got like English, Scottish, uh, French, or whatever it may be, they'll group all them together basically. So that's where I'm getting my guessing point hypothesis from. But truthfully, I really don't. I don't know.
oh, I'm gonna have fun busting that bubble. Is that what they've been telling each other on TikTok?
That's
Is
what I
that
read. That's what I read when I read in different people's results.
okay? All right.
But what I don't get, this is one I don't get. I don't get how when they give an explanation as to where they think that the person is from. Like I've seen some when it's just what we would perceive to be an African American person, and it pinpointed them that their family was primarily from Louisiana. I'm like, where are you getting that from? So I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I do have a mutual, and I want to get her on here so bad. I just have to talk her into it because she's shy as fuck. Her name is Silicon Biology. She's smart as fuck too. She speaks English, Spanish, and Portuguese fluently, and she knows French too. But those three, that's the one she can like that with. But she can break it down. I'm gonna try to get her to talk about it because it would provide some kind of light because even though like we're saying right now, even with these results, we're still gonna be confused. You know,
Yeah, I definitely need light shed on me for that one because something's not sounding right in the Kool-Aid. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to explain that,
me
but
neither. Me
that's not
neither.
right.
Like I seen Shannon Sharp's results. And he's 90% Nigerian. I don't know how.
Get the fuck out of here.
Hmm. Yeah, that's hard. How did his gene pool from slavery stay with those particular tribes? Especially me now knowing that a lot of slaves came from Congo, from the Congo River. A lot. I didn't know that a little while ago, but I know it now. So I'm trying to figure out how they never intermingled, or with the other countries I mentioned before. I don't know how that went. That's strange.
Especially with the great melting pot that the Statue of Liberty has been feeding us for all of these years.
Hmm.
That's that's interesting.
Hmm. How did on the plantations did just the Nigerians just how did massa stay off your ass like your mama's ass like that? How
Right?
on both sides of your family for you to be
Right.
90%? So
Like I said, the math ain't mathing on that whole DNA
no,
thing.
no, on
I'm
him
gonna
it definitely ain't.
I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I'm gonna leave that alone for now. But I'm gonna add that to the lesson plan because
Right.
that's not right.
And
Somebody's lying. Somebody's
eh,
lying.
yeah, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Not going through slavery. Now, if he was from Nigeria, I can. It's easier to believe. It's easier to believe, right? Because you would have to perceive that most of them would probably have been not as exposed to outside places as much as here, with this being the melting pot that it is. So I have to agree with you. It's hard. It's hard to believe that. It's very hard to believe that. Very, very. Especially when he can't trace back how far his family been here. So I don't get that.
I want you to know I'm ready to go to this island and enjoy a weekend or two. I'm ready to go.
Right.
The island you was telling me about where the NASA spot was.
Oh, Shinkatig, the best time to
Mm-hmm.
go. Well, it's tough. See, the thing about Shinkatig is this: it's a resort town in itself, but it's also very close to Ocean City. It's very close to Ocean City. So in the summertime, Ocean City is the shit, right? So all down that strip, boom, 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 boom. And Shinkatig is more than an hour away. The hotels they be kind of hard to get, and they do when you do get them, they be expensive as fuck. They be expensive. I went down there like mm, 4 or 5 years ago, 4th of July. But at the time, I was working at this job on the road, so I had a whole bunch of hotel points. One night in a goddamn uh, Comfort Inn hotel, $500.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm. 500.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and so I ended up using my points, and then at the time, this is before I went to Jamaica, so I was so bloodthirsty to go down there. They had a resort in that network, right? It wasn't exactly Choice Hotel, but it was a different one, but it was in the network, and I could have went there, and it would have been cheaper. It would have been less for a room for one night, all inclusive, than it would have been for there when it wasn't inclusive. I said, "Well, I'll
Right.
be damned."
Wait a minute. Are people still booking non-inclusive these days? Are they still booking non-inclusive?
It depends on what we're talking about. Now, I'm not sure. Like there, Ocean City, Shinkatik, all that shit. Yeah, of course. But a lot of people when they go overseas, not so much because people are scared. People are scared to leave the resort. I mean, yeah, people are scared to leave the hotel, especially if they ain't never been there. And when you in all inclusive, every fucking thing that you can think of is right there. You don't have to leave. There's entertainment. There's people dancing, singing. It's all the food you can eat for free. If you got the right kind of account, all the drinks you can drink for free. All the stores you could think of, all the shops, all the beaches there. It's 4 or 5 different pools. Man, this fucking goddamn golf courses there, tennis courts, every fucking thing that you can possibly think of to
Where
not
did
leave.
you get Jamaica?
Listen, it's not very big. You can drive around the country in 4 hours. But listen, right next door to each resort is another resort, and you can see it while you're on it. Like when you say if you stand on the beach, right, you just look, you can see all the other ones, and you can see people both directions, all around, and some of the most beautiful fucking resorts in each and every last one of them. There's a big 20-foot fucking wall, at least 20 foot, go all the way out in the ocean, blocking it off so you can't get to the next one or stopping the people that live there from going there. So one thing I learned, and I tell this to people, is when you go to these other countries, you have to understand in a way you are hurting them and you're taking from them. Bottom line.
Wait a minute. How you gonna just build up a wall so people can't like if you can drive it in 4 hours, why can't you go around the whole beach?
You can't. You can't. The resorts are on the beach. The beachfront property is owned by the resorts, and I'm talking about any fucking hotel chain you think of. It's owned by them. The rest of the shit, you know how I just compared to you earlier about how the ocean looked with the marsh and shit. The rest of it
Yeah.
is like that. It's not bulldozed and cleaned up. It's all fucked up. It's all big rocks and all kind of bullshit. So listen, I'm gonna send you a video when we get off here. I'm gonna show you me walking across the wall because you know if you tell me don't do something, you might as well book. I'm gonna do it because I'm not fucking scared of black people because I am black. So that big 20-foot wall, I'm gonna show you with a wall and a sign that says "Go across this wall at your own risk." And then I got myself recording going across it. And soon as you go across that wall, you're like, "Oh shit!" You're like, "What the fuck is that?" Especially if you're from here, because you're gonna see some shit you ain't never seen. As soon as you go across that wall, they got them shacks and them shanty houses and shit, and they got like padlocks on it. And I told them to open and looked, and they got every fucking thing for sale. Then like it's all kind of beer bottles and used condoms and fucking all kinds of shit over there, needles and all kind of shit. Then you walk through like this path, and you can see me talking. You can see me talking while I'm saying it. I'm like, this is where the Americans scared to go, right? Then you go across the street and shit, and it's all kinds of shops, gas stations and shit. But the whole fucking time, the hotel is doing everything, but literally going like this to stop you from going over there. Everything. I'm telling you, they're putting a whole fucking fear monger in you. The whole fucking time. I went over there in some fucking flip flops. It's flip flops. Pocket full of money. Ain't nobody do shit. Nothing. So
It'd
you
be
have
like,
to.
look, another one went over the wall. Look, another brave one. We got a brave one.
Nah, it was listen. When I went over there, when I went to this, it was a gas station. Cause look, in my room, right, I could see over the wall, so I could see people going to the gas station and shit, right. So I'm looking, cause I was scared at first too. I'm looking, I'm like, just watching people pull up, get gas. I see people help them get gas. I'm like, did I see the Arabs? I'm like, this is the hood. I'm right at the crib. Why the fuck am I scared? Why? So I went over there and got me some blunts. That's what I did. Listen, all they want you to do, listen, they not really trying to do nothing to you. Listen, not for real. Not for real. They're not trying to do nothing to you, but they desperate and hungry. So the thing is you got a lot of people that got a lot of business that are selling things on the road, selling shirts, selling all kind of merchandise and shit. They want you to spend their money with them, right? That's all they want you to do. And the resort is trying to do the opposite fucking thing, right? Now you have to keep in context that 90% of the beaches on that fucking island are not accessible to the residents that live in that country. They're not allowed to go to the resorts unless you let them in. That's the only fucking way. So you can't help but be jealous and you standing there just watching this shit. You would be mad as fuck. For sure, you just watch it. You just coming, y'all coming down here having just a grand dandy old fucking time. Oh, wearing your best Gucci, Versace. You having a good old time. You have kicking it, drinking as much as you want and shit. And you see my black ass looking just like you, fucked up. And you see me trying to sell you shit, but you gonna go take it and you gonna sell it with them. You're gonna spend your money with them. You know what? Let me get that. Let me get that. And guess what? It's like that here, but it's worse. We got guns. They do not. So where's it more dangerous at?
Oh,
Things.
right here. Right
Mhm,
here.
mhm. It's an illusion. They trying to scare the shit out of you. That's all they doing. It's not even true. I mean, now don't get it fucked up. You can go down there and get fucked up. There's people that will rob you, and there's gangs that will target you because the only thing that they have is really tourism. The country is predicated on tourism. If you don't work at that hotel, or if you don't work at one of the little things they got there, or whatever, like the little spots, tourist spots and shit, you fucked up. So you got people
So
that
is
will
it
do that.
better to be born on the island of Jamaica and never see the beach
Hmm.
or certain beaches, the good beaches?
90% of the beaches you will not see if you are a resident of Jamaica unless you have money to go to the hotel or the resort. And when I say you can't get in, they got the big thick this big thick bar, right? Armed security with Mac 10s
Are you
standing at
for
the gate. Listen, they police don't got no handgun. They got Macs and they got ski masks on. Let me tell you why.
why?
Informer for die. If you are an informer, I'm saying it like they said, or if you are a snitch, they will kill you with no hesitation. Yeah, it's like that down there. So these police got ski masks on, so they won't know who the fuck they is, and you got to keep in context. You know how we're talking about how hot Florida is?
Yeah.
That ain't shit. I used to think before I went down there, NJ, that because I'm black, I can't catch heat stroke. Bullshit, 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 bull. Listen, I call bullshit all day on that. I call ignorance on that all day because I learned. I learned the second day, the second fucking day, I had to go back in the hotel. I said, I can't, I can't take this. That's when I knew. I'm like, oh well, yeah, them slaves was them was some honorable people. Them
Right.
motherfuckers was some dogs.
Because I wouldn't
Okay.
have made it. I wouldn't have made it.
Oh
I
my
wouldn't have made
gosh.
it.
Oh my gosh.
I would not have made
Oh
it.
my gosh. It was so bad. It's so fucking hot down that bitch. It's
I'd have
so hot.
constantly been looking for respawns and health packs. I wouldn't have made it.
And so many of the videos I recorded myself, you can just hear me just crying and complaining about how bad the mosquitoes is. I'd never seen no shit like that. Not even Florida mosquitoes. Virginia mosquitoes ain't that shit ain't shit. That shit ain't nothing.
Wow, because wait a minute. Now you scaring me because I'm
Mhm.
scared of Florida mosquitoes. Like I plan
Shit.
my beach trips around their seasons. I don't fuck with Florida mosquitoes because they will eat you alive, literally. Fall asleep on the beach at night if you want to.
Broad daylight down that motherfucker. It don't matter. You go outside, you fair game. No matter where you at. You fair game. Period. Listen, they got roll on uh repellent and you have to wear it. This you have to like so I bought some off from the resort.
Yeah.
I paid $27 for it. That shit was worth every motherfucking penny. Every penny. $27. I had at least on each leg I had at least 30 bites apiece. Man, that shit was bad. And you can't see them. Like, the ones we used to seeing, you could see them. It was so bad, NJ. I thought I had fucking bed bugs. It was like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all over me, all over my face, all over me. They was laughing, like, because after a while I got cool with motherfuckers there. They laughing at me so hard because I'm just sitting there just scratching. They're like, man, you gotta wear this, man. You gotta listen. That shit was crazy. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Catch me again next week. I think I'm going to run part 2 of the history of the Moors, so we can touch base on the Moors that we have today. Let's see if we can prove that they are any relation to these people. I'm hoping that they are. Have heard quite a few far-fetched stories about them. Um, but again, the person that told me some of these far-fetched stories has proven me wrong a couple times. So let's see if I can correlate some of the things that she said with this. If not, catch me on Wednesday again at AAA Podcast Sports. I want to thank NJ for stopping by, for taking your 2 hour, more than 2 hours today out of your day to talk about the Moors, and thank you for your input as well. Definitely is always appreciated.
What?
Um, Go ahead.
I was just gonna say bye bye. See y'all later. I'm impressed that you kept me engaged as long as you did, because usually by now my bladder would have definitely got me out of anything I was in. So uh,
Mine is getting me there now. I ain't gonna lie to you. Mine is getting there. I think I have maybe 2 cups of coffee.
everybody enjoy your day. Don't forget to send me that text message so I won't forget what rabbit hole I'm going down. But I prove me wrong, but I don't remember reading anything that correlated with anything about that. The Moors being here, the DNA, all of that. Mm-mm. I don't
Yeah,
think you're gonna be able to
I'm gonna
do
have to
that.
reiterate that and check that again because
Yeah.
she was saying something about. I'm gonna ask her about it. But I definitely text you and let you know about it. But thank you again for stopping by, and thank everybody for stopping by today. at Faith Lies of Confusion. I'll be back again next Sunday around church time. Good night.